Hello and welcome to the Extra Innings Baseball Show. I'm your host, Logan Stump, and with me today is Mr. Oriole himself. I think we're just going to coin that term so we can get you a shirt and get you a statue. But I've got Jordan Wiegand with me. Mr. Oriole, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Living the dream, dreaming that I'm alive, I guess. I don't know, whatever way you want to put it. I don't know, Jordan, what exciting stuff do we have planned today? Because I know we've got a rundown, an interview that you have done by yourself. Yeah. You just kind of broke off and did something by yourself because you didn't want me involved. But
it was the other way around. I offered Logan a shot. He said, I have to go to the grocery store.
Anyway, Jordan, what are we going to be looking at today in the interview, and who did you talk to?
Yeah, I talked to Bob Phelan. He does a podcast for focused on the Orioles minor league for Baltimore Sports and Life, BSL, called BSL On the Verge. And it's a lot of focus on all the upcoming prospects that are coming through the system. I talked to him a bit about, the changes Mike Elias had made to the organization to help bring it into this century. Just kind of got his perspective on any trades he expects to happen on the big league side, who he thinks can make the team this year, and who we have to wait a little longer for. So that'll be coming up here shortly, and we're going to put it on this feed, and I think I'm going to put it on the Orioles feed that we're launching as well.
Yeah, so do you feel more optimistic now that you kind of have talked to him and maybe do you have a date in your mind, maybe that he had kind of talked about? Like, do you have a specific year that you guys are looking to compete? Do you feel like that there's a common understanding amongst fans about which year that the organization is kind of shooting for as far as being competitive?
No, we didn't really talk about a specific date. It's tough with prospects just because you never know how they're going to hit. But I was already pretty optimistic. I did this for Oriole fans to help get them optimistic and to point them towards Bob's way in case if they want to listen to On the Verge, which is a really good Oriole podcast. And what I would say with that is probably looking, I would say 2025 would probably be peak time to be making a run. I think we'll be increasingly good up until then, but I think 2025 is probably when you're going to see most of these guys up in the bigs.
Yeah, I mean, just
have experience.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like the window, it looks like looking at your guys' prospects. I mean, a lot of them are AA, single A. There's quite a few of them in AAA, but I feel like by the time we hit, like you said, 2025, all those guys should be sniffing the big leagues or in the big leagues, and that's about 3-year window, which, then I think the Orioles maybe next year, maybe next offseason or the offseason after, that's when you start to look into add some veteran pieces in. But no, I mean, I haven't been able to listen to the interview, so I'm interested to kind of hear what your thoughts are and just kind of what you guys went over as far as just the Orioles in general. And I know you said that he lived pretty close to you in Maryland, so that's pretty wild.
So we'll go ahead and play that, and we'll catch you on the other side. And we are back from our break, and with me today is Bob Phelan from BSL On the Verge. How are you today, Bob?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I wanted to do this as a Oriole fan. Our show covers the whole league, but need something to look forward to at the light of this at the end of this tunnel rebuild. That I'm trying to look forward to, and just want to kind of get kind of your expertise on some of these prospects that are coming up and what Mike Elias has been doing over these past couple years. But if you want to let our listeners know where they can find the show and find you and all of your work.
Yeah, thanks. I'm on Twitter at the Oriole Report. You should follow our podcast, though, first and foremost, at BSO On the Verge. Nick does a great job managing that and tweeting out highlights of all the games once minor league season gets started. And you can search for our podcast on YouTube, on anywhere you can find podcasts. BSL On the Verge should be able to find it.
Awesome. I just want to ask you real quick too, just like for our listeners too, like just what's the earliest Oriole memory you have?
I'd have to say 1996. I was 11 years old, and my grandma was really into watching the Orioles. That was the first time I really started getting into baseball. It was a great season. Playoffs, 96, 97, hooked me early, and then we had a nice 14 years of terribleness after that.
Yes.
But I've been in ever since then. I think Roberto Alomar was my first favorite player, for sure.
Oh yeah, I loved Alomar as well. I like playing second base when I was a kid, So of course he was up there as one of my favorites. But yeah, I don't even know if I have an earliest memory. Like what I remember is probably the earliest thing I remember is I was born in 91, so I was only 1 when Camden Yards opened. But my grandparents or my dad or somebody had like a VHS tape of they recorded the game when it was on TV. And I used to just rewatch that game like all the time and see like Albert Bell on the Indians and be like, wait, he's going to be on the Orioles at some point. Like that's,
That
one of the
actually
earliest
reminds
parts.
me of an earlier memory. That's really cool though, that you had that. But I have a foggy memory of Memorial Stadium. I think I went to a game with my dad. I must have been 3 or 4. Like I barely remember it. I can just remember third base side, remember blue uniforms. It's very hazy. So I don't know if that counts, but
Yeah, what I remember Memorial Stadium is like when the Ravens came to town and they did like their practices there like the first year or like something like that. My parents took me to that. But I never got to see like a game there or anything. But yeah, I've always been, like a diehard Orioles fan even during those 14 losing seasons, and it just made 2012 that much more special for me. And then, I think I was at game 2 of the Yankee series, and I was at game 2 of game 1 of the Tiger series in 2014. So those were some great moments, but since then, they haven't really been relevant. 2016 wild card, 2018 they made a last push. Dan Duquette and left the farm system in kind of a rough spot for Mike Elias to come in. I didn't know if you'd be able to share some, shed some light to our listeners here of what exactly Mike Elias has done to bring this organization into this century.
I don't know if there's a GM that has inherited a more barren wasteland than Mike Elias did when he came in the offseason following the 2018 season. I mean, there's no international presence for the Orioles. Their farm system was barren because they went all in for those seasons, trading anyone like Josh Hader, even Kyle Davies or Zach Davies, excuse me, like just pretty much Eduardo Rodriguez, pretty much anyone that had any value. If you go back and look at the top 30 Orioles prospects in like 2018, 2019, you'll be shocked how far they've come so quickly with Elias. He quickly established Kobe Perez as the international scouting director, and they're finally just catching up now. I think they're going to have their first international signings appear in full season ball this year with Delmarva. He has done a great job with the draft, even with Heston Kjerstad not being able to play yet. Obviously, he inherited the number 1 pick, kind of a no-brainer to select Adley Rutschman, but he's worked out. They've developed him enough. And the player development that's really, I think, the biggest thing that they have instituted is just, I got to talk to John Rhodes and Zach Peak over the past few weeks, who are minor leaguers in the Orioles system, and just how everyone we've talked to on the podcast, everyone's on the same page. They have instituted, the analytics. I know it's kind of a buzzword, but they've instituted ways to improve players, and so far so good. We'll see if it can continue up to the major league level, but really he's turned a barren wasteland into an overflowing talent rich club that's at least a top 3 farm system in the league, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I mean, just like listening to your show, getting hyped up for some of these prospects that like I've never, even when we had good prospects, it was just like a couple that you wait for. And then we were trying to, grow the arms by the bats, and that didn't really work out at all. And all those players had so much more success when they left our organization. My co-host is a Cubs fan, so he knows all about, what Arrieta could do when he left. But But yeah, it does make me very excited. I went to Hartford Mall back when they had Kauser and Westberg, and I got Westberg's signature. Paid the $40 for that.
Nice.
Since we share the same first name, I felt like, and he's, I have a connection there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I remember looking back, and you see all these people signing, all these other teams signing international players, and we would always look and be like, why are we not able to do this? It seems like it was something from ownership that prevented that, but thankfully, whatever it is, they've let Elias just have the full keys to the car here. Is that how you see it too? That he can do pretty much whatever?
I do, and it's shocking, honestly. I remember when 2018, after Duquette was fired, it's like, okay, yeah, they're interviewing this hotshot Mike Elias from Houston, who's done a great job. This would be the perfect fit, but they're just going to take some also Rahen veteran GM that's just going to be able to play within the same parameters that has always been. I'm not sure what Mike Elias said, or maybe if it was just the condition of Peter Angelos' health and the Suns taking more control, maybe they had a better mindset on how to just hire someone and let them do the job that you hired them to do. But I do believe he has full control. Maybe he said, hey, I can save you some money while we're bad in this rebuild, as long as you let us bump that payroll back up. Hopefully that is the case. I do believe it will be the case. But yeah, I truly believe, love it or hate it, Mike Elias is instituting his own plan 100%, and we'll see if it works out. But it's definitely different from an Orioles perspective, who have had ownership where they got their hands a little much too much in the pot there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that drives me nuts about the narratives on like Twitter and Reddit and stuff of the Orioles are just cheap. When you look back at those teams, or when they try to lump in the 2018 losses to this rebuild when it wasn't even the same GM and we were actually trying to win
Yeah, exactly.
in 2018. But yeah, it's I know prospects are not always going to turn out, but it feels like a much needed refresh, and long past the days of like the Adam Lowens and the some of those that had not made it back in the that was like the McPhail era, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's talk about, I guess, some of these top prospects. I feel like most baseball fans know about Adley Rutschman, as he's 24 years old. He's about to hit the big leagues. He may have not made the opening day roster anyway, but he's definitely missing it due to some forearm tightness that he has. But it seems like everything's okay. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's just a tricep injury, luckily. I mean, at first they said it was elbow, which never sounds good, but a muscle injury in the tricep makes sense. You're ramping up for spring training, nothing too concerning as long as that's all it is, and he should be back relatively soon. I would have loved to known if they would have kept him down or started him at opening day, with the healthy spring training and all. But unfortunately, I think that just gave him the perfect excuse to keep him down for that extra year control, as long as he doesn't get in first or second place in the Rookie of the Year voting.
Yeah, I was very pessimistic. I was thinking they were going to keep him down anyway. Just how we operate. But then we have Grayson Rodriguez, who last we checked was top of the baseball pitching prospects, but they did recently come out with some more rankings, I think, right before, because I think Bobby Witt Jr. is now the top prospect in baseball.
According to MLB Pipeline. It's just
Pipeline.
There's some major outlets. They have slightly different lists, and that's cool because it's a very hard thing to predict who the best is and who's going to be good. But I think pretty much Grayson is consensus number one pitching prospect.
And I know he had finished the year in Double-A and has not pitched at all in Triple-A. I know was he one of the ones that was just optioned as well?
Yeah, he was optioned a couple of days ago. He did get in one appearance at Major League Spring Training. Got roughed up. I wouldn't say roughed up, but he gave up some runs. I think Trey Mancini was manning right field, missed the ball. It's not the end of the world. It's spring training, but it was cool to him to get a shot at the Major League Spring Training at least. And yeah, I would expect him to start in AAA, but I don't think it would take much as long as he's putting up the numbers that he should to get the call to the major leagues.
And then DL Hall is coming back from an injury. He looked pretty good though on the mound recently. Saw some highlights of that. Do we think he can make it up fairly quickly as well? And is he? I feel like some people before thought he'd be a starting pitcher. Some now think more of like a reliever. Where do you kind of see him slotting in eventually?
I think he has every chance to make it as a starter. I think his floor is like a dominant lefty reliever. So that's like you always want to try your best to have a pitcher make it as a starter. That's more valuable. But, if worst case happens where, the stamina is not there, what have you, he's either going to be Blake Snell type starter or a Josh Hader type reliever. Maybe not quite as good as those guys. That's pretty lofty, but man, did he look good. His stuff is every bit as good, if not better than Grayson Rodriguez, just on pure stuff. With him, it's all about control. I mean, he looked amazing in his little 1 inning stint there yesterday against the Phillies, hitting 100 miles per hour, striking out a couple guys, getting lots of swings and misses. So, yeah, it's all about health and if he can maintain the workload of a starter. But I think he has every chance in the world to do so.
All right, and then we had Colton Cowser is ranked 4th on Fangraphs for the Orioles. He was also at Hartford Mall when I was there. I did not get his signature. I think it was like another $35 more. It was like $70 some. But I did get to talk to him a bit. He started walking around the little card shop that they had there. But center field prospect. He's only about to turn 22. They have him projected for 2024. But just how excited should Oriole fans be for Colton Cowser in the next couple of years?
Very. Unfortunately, it's going to be the answer for a lot of these guys, just because, this is a stack system. He's another one of these high floor guys. Like, he can hit. He's got great plate discipline. He can play center field, might be able to stick out there, might eventually have to move to a corner, but he can do it all. He's like a 5-tool guy. I kind of put a comparison as like Nick Markakis that can play center field as maybe his ceiling, but it's all about how much power he's going to have, whether he can break that glass ceiling or whatever you want to say. So I think you should be excited. He should move quickly. I actually think he'll be in the majors in 2023 as long as, he continues to perform. So I think you should definitely be excited. Him, Mullins, there's just so many outfield prospects. Kyle Stowers getting a look in spring training. Yeah, he's going to be a solid player, I think, no matter what. I would lock him in at least as a major league player at some point.
And Kobe Mayo has just kind of risen tremendously since he was just drafted, coming right up into number 6 ranked on Fangraphs, and he's only had single A exposure. He's only 20 years old, and people nationally now just starting to really take notice of Kobe Mayo.
Yeah, he's starting to make up for the lack of Kjerstad so far out of that 2020 draft. He was a high school overslot signing, so they paid him more than that slot would have indicated he was worth. But yeah, he came out firing on all cylinders last year at the Florida Coast League and got moved up to low A Delmarva almost as like okay, let's see if you can keep this up. And he might have hit even better there. So looks like he's going to start the year at 20 years old in high A Aberdeen, which is a pretty impressive. And if he just continues to hit the way he has, I could see him easily being a top 25 type prospect overall in the major leagues. Obviously, he's got to perform to do it, but he has that chance.
And Aberdeen's like 10 minutes down the road from me, so I definitely want to make it out to one of those games before he gets promoted. And then just to kind of speed things up here for some of these real quick, Westberg and Henderson were originally both listed as shorts, as them as 3rd and 2nd, but where do you see them kind of slotting in? Because we have a lot of options for some of these infield positions for some of these shortstop prospects to go into.
I think Westberg has a better chance to stick at shortstop. I think his glove is a little bit better. Henderson's arm's a little bit better, so might be a better profile at third base. I'd say Westberg has a higher floor. Henderson has a higher ceiling, but they should also be major league ready around 2023. Westberg has a chance to get a small cup of coffee at the end of this year if he performs in AAA.
Yeah, they had Westberg playing at 3rd a bit in one of the preseason games I was able to watch, and he had some nice defense over there as well.
Yeah, he should be capable to play second, third, shortstop. He's not going to be like a Gold Glove caliber, but he's definitely solid enough to get the job done.
And I know over on your show, everyone's very excited about Kyle Bradish. Uh, what do we think we can expect from Kyle Bradish? It looks like he should be up later this year as well.
Yeah, they just optioned him back. I thought he might have a chance at that fifth
Yeah.
starter role, but I think it's actually indicates how high they are on him because, again, you don't manipulate service time with guys unless it's like one of your top guys that you're super high on. And I kind of think they're doing the same thing with him where they'll wait 3-4 weeks and then bring him up for the rotation. But he's kind of like he throws mid 90s. He touched 97 a few times. He's got a killer curveball, a great slider. He looks like, reminds me of Zach Greinke out there on the mound, just looking at him, but he's a fun guy to watch. He might be more of a 5 and dive guy where you get 5. He tends to have a higher pitch count. He walks some guys, but his stuff is so good that he doesn't give up many runs over those 5-6 innings. So he might not be a guy that goes 6-7 innings every time out, but he should be pretty useful. And even again, like a guy like Michael Baumann, where if he doesn't make it as a starter, his stuff is good enough to be closer-esque if he needs to transition to the bullpen.
All right. And I guess if you would be able to name somebody that we did not name here that you think Oriole fans should really keep an eye out for, or maybe just Major League Baseball fans should keep an eye out for.
I got to shout out one of my favorite guys in the system, Gene Pinto. He's a right-handed pitcher who pitched in FCL in Delmarva last year, should start out this year in Aberdeen High A. He is a guy that the Orioles traded Jose Iglesias for. They got Garrett Stallings, another right-handed pitcher, and Gene Pinto, international guy. Again, he's young, 21 years old. And it looked like he was a throw-in in that trade, but then last year came and he was dominant. He's got a great fastball that can hit mid-90s, tunnels the ball really well with a great changeup and slider. So I think he could be a guy that moves fast at a young age. And a lot of guys think he's short, so he has that reliever risk, but I think the stuff is good enough that he could be a guy that's biting for the Orioles rotation in a year or two.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't say Yusniel Diaz.
Yeah, he's having a resurgent spring, but we've seen that before. Let's see if he can stay healthy for a month or two in the regular season.
And then for Kjerstad, like you mentioned, is it pretty much just he's fallen down to number 10, right? Or was he go up actually this year?
Might
but
have been 9 or 10, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of hanging around the same spot without playing a game yet. Is anything that the Orioles get from him just bonus after some of these issues he's been having?
I think a lot of the criticism that the fans have given him is a little bit unfair. I mean, the myocarditis, heart issue seems like a secondary issue from COVID. I mean, that's so just bad luck on his part. And then I think this hamstring injury, yeah, it sucks. It definitely is unfortunate, but I think that's just a product of he probably rushed back a little bit, went a little bit too hard, trying to get back into action. So he's still, based on Eric Garfield, who is always down in Sarasota getting videos of these guys, looks like he's in good shape, and he was performing well in practice, and he still has that ability that they drafted him number 2 overall with. But yeah, I just hope he gets at least half a season in this year and then can try to make up some ground. But you got Carter Baumler and Kobe Mayo out of that draft, Jordan Westberg, Hudson Haskins, Anthony Servideo. So it's still going to be a great draft no matter what. So I guess you could say that everything's bonus, but he's not like a guy that hasn't performed. He just hasn't even got the chance to do so.
Right. Okay, but before I let you go, just any sort of needs you think that would have to happen this year to be able to make room for some of these like outfielders, or I know there's been rumors, or from Dan Connolly about Trey Mancini being traded, and I know that would be emotional for Orioles fans, but looking at the numbers, maybe not as much of a loss as people would think. But if you were in charge right now, who are you moving and to make room for some of these guys?
I love Trey. I mean, I would not be upset if they extended him, if they just let him ride this year out and then let him go. Like, obviously, great story, great guy, really good player, but he is 30 years old, approaching 31. He's a first base at best DH type. And we have guys that are going to need playing time. You got a bunch of these outfielders that even if you only have 3 outfield spots, you can use that DH position. You can move Adley there when he's not catching. So I hate to say, but I think I would trade him. And if you can't get anything that's worthwhile, just let him hang around for this year. Let him play out the season. Maybe you try to trade him again at the deadline. But I know everyone disagrees on this one, but I do think I would trade him. And I would try to trade Anthony Santander as long as he gets off to a good start. I think he's just who he is at this point. He's a guy that has a lot of power. He's not going to walk. He's going to be around a league average right fielder, which is not bad, but it could probably be more useful to a team that's in contention that has a little bit weaker spot in the outfield than the Orioles, who have guys coming up at a rapid rate. So I think those 2 guys will probably be traded at some point this year to make room.
Yeah, especially like Santander was like a Rule 5 pick, right? So that's pretty good what we've been able to get from him. And I was amazed when I was there. I went to go see the Shohei Ohtani games at the park, and just walking along the Utah Street where they have the markings, and how many of those were actually from him that weren't even like that were from that year that they hadn't had a chance to put a plaque in. And then he also had some plaques out there, and I was like, geez, I didn't realize he hit so many Utah Street home runs as well.
Yeah, when he gets a hold of one, it's a bomb.
All right. So I assume you think that the Orioles finish 5th, right, in the East.
Yeah, I think that's fair to assume. I do think they'll be a little more competitive than maybe a lot of baseball fans think, but I could see us winning between 65 and 70 games. And who knows if Adley, Grayson, DL, if these guys come up and perform right away, you can't always expect that. Not by any means. Just look at Jared Kelenic last year.
Yeah.
But if they do, maybe they win 70 to 73 games. I can't see much more than that, but it's just setting up for next year. And hopefully, Correa opts out of his contract with the Twins. We grab him, or no, I don't know. Maybe make some trades, make some signings, and start to turn this thing around heading into 2023.
Yeah, the Correa news was exciting, and then the Masson article came out about the not paying for people to go on road trips, and I'm not so sure I believed it anymore. But it's just it was fun to kind of live by for a bit. I remember when Prince Fielder was a free agent, everybody kept trying to get him here, or even like the Teixeira stuff. But just want to thank you for coming on here. Did you want to plug where people can find the show again?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find it on any podcast app or YouTube. BSL On the Verge. Fun show. We talk about minor leagues if you're into that. And definitely, if you're an Orioles fan, follow our Twitter account at BSL On the Verge. Plenty of clips, highlights, recaps. Good stuff over there. So appreciate you having me on.
Hey, we're back from our interview. Jordan, what a great interview, man. Like you really have, I guess, fine-tuned your skills going through all of these interviews that we have done. Not on this show, but on another show. People are going to be like, they don't have another show. They're lying. No, we really do. It's a soccer show. We've interviewed tons of people. But Jordan, can I just say that you just sound so good. You know your stuff when you're talking about the Orioles. But no, I really enjoyed that interview. And I hope fans did too. I think that's interesting. And Jordan, I think you've got a lot of competition amongst the Oriole faithful as far as launching your own little segment of the Oriole podcast. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Nice job, Jordan.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It means so much that you would say that.
I've listened to it at least 4 or 5 times by now.
Already,
so,
geez.
Right.
I'm glad it was that good for you. You can follow this show on Facebook at Extra Innings Baseball Show with no E in extra. You can follow us on Twitter at Extra Innings Show with no E in extra. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Extra Innings Baseball Show. Again, with no E in extra. Even though our show has an E in extra, it's just easier to locate on those platforms without it. And then, like you said, and like I alluded to earlier, this will be up on our Orioles feed as well, which is launching. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with it yet, but it's called Word from the Warehouse. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at warehouseword. And actually, Bob already retweeted my photo, photo for it, and told everybody to go follow us. So we're getting some followers over there. And I'm going to put this episode on both of these feeds. That way we can try to get everyone on who's even not an Oriole fan interested in listening to my interview with Bob. So just want to thank him for coming on and spending some time with us to talk about Orioles prospects.
Yeah, you even got me to listen to On the Verge over their podcast. So it was good. I listened to the one that they did previewing the season, kind of looking at the different prospects that are coming up, ones they thought maybe we're going to make an impact this year, or maybe an impact later on down the road. Adley Rutschman, obviously, I think on top of everybody's mind, just because I think he's first up. It kind of does have that feel like back when I was watching the Cubs kind of come up like this, like the Orioles are currently doing. It has that like, here's the first arrival, and it just keeps getting more fun from here. So I'm really happy for you, happy for the Orioles, happy for that fan base, because it's a lot of fun just watching these young kids take center stage in the big show. So, but yeah, thanks for listening to the interview. Thanks for Bob for Bob coming on to the Extra Innings Baseball Show. Jordan, I think we forget to realize or tell people that the reason why it's the Extra Innings Baseball Show and we always spell it with the X is because we don't make any E's on this show. It's kind of a fun thing we do here. But yeah, anything else before we send it out?
No, just go ahead and follow us on those platforms and get ready for what is dropping next, which is the NL Central, AL Central preview.
All right, we will see you guys next time.
The Extra Innings Baseball Show is hosted by Logan Stump, edited and produced by Jordan Wiegand, and we hope that everybody enjoys us talking some baseball in this MLB 2022 season that is upcoming. Thank you.